Make it work, please. Okay. So, so I'm going to just take you through what happens. Try to do a quick list possible when someone reaches out and says, hey, I want you to sell my home. I'm thinking about you selling my house. And so here's how that looks, and I'll give you steps. And then, like I said, you can go back and ask me questions. I do want to say this. There's more than one way to skin a cat, and there's more than one way to connect with the seller and to be able to gain their listing. Another thing I want to say, preface this with saying, is you have to know that I am, well, maybe you haven't noticed, but I am very charismatic and I am very persuasive. So I intentionally work to not utilize those skills to gain my clients. And so what I often tell people, many times, buyers or sellers, is when you make a decision and when this is over and someone comes back and asks you, well, why did you do this? Because we did this, we did that. I want them to be able to confidently say, you know what, we knew about that too. The reason we did this is because of X, Y, Z, not because my realtor told me to, right? So this is working outside of my strength, and that is providing information, because like I said, I don't ever say you just need to do this. So that's why you're going to see a lot of data, because I like things to be supported and not them just feeling like they have to go with what I say. I do hit people hard and fast, as I said yesterday, and it does allow for me to develop a very quick rapport and trust with them, so that the further we go, the less information they need, and they just start to get it. I love to educate people as I'm going. So that's where all this is kind of coming from. So the very first thing, actually, what I had last night that happened is the client, someone texted me, hey, I think I want you to sell my home last night, just a random text. So I, number one, pick up the phone and make a connection. Hey, how are you? Whatever. That'll be great. Tell me a little bit about what you're trying to achieve or whatever. Just very quick. And then it's always the next step. I'm going to send you an email, and that email is going to have 6 questions on it. You will know the answers. Don't worry. It's not a pop quiz. You will know the answers. Once you get that email back to me, those answers, we're going to set up a time for me to come and meet you at your home. That is always how I do it, whether it's my mom, a friend, whoever. I do the same thing all the time, over and over again with the same people. Remember, consistency helps to build your confidence. So you want to consistently keep doing the same thing. And so those questions, I'm going to do share screen, because I'm feeling awful froggy today. So let's go. Okay. So I'm going to go into really quick. I think it might be helpful if you guys get to see this. This is actually someone who I sent this to last night. So I'm going to pull this up for you so you can see the email. So I'm basically letting her know, hey, here's the questions I mentioned to you over the phone. You guys, I just copy and paste this email to the people over and over again. Just so you can see, what's the property address, list of all of the improvements, repairs they've made to the house in the last 5 years, what amount is owed on the house, if anything, what do you feel the house is worth, what timelines of debt, what timelines or deadlines do you have for selling your home, and what are some qualities you expect out of the realtor you select. And sometimes people like to giggle on that one, especially if they already know me, because I treat my friends the way I want them to pay me. And they need to pay me 3.5%. So I don't give them like this friend experience. Like, I come straight with professionalism. I'm going to always be funny and humor. That is just the way I handle jitters and all that, because that's just part of my personality. But I treat you the way I want you to pay me. So if you want your friends and family and your sphere to pay you on a discounted rate, give them the discounted experience. Me and my kids don't eat off a discount. So I have to make sure that I am providing a certain level of experience to justify what I charge my listings. And so now I'm going to go into next step. I have a lot of folders here, as you can see. So once they send that email back like she did, It'll give me the information I need so that when I show up for that appointment, I look pretty freaking amazing, okay? And I can gain their trust pretty fast. So we send out the questions, they respond back. We discuss then, when am I gonna come? And then that lets me know when I need to have their information ready. And this is the information that I get ready. So that, oopsie, let's go back over here. This is the things that Rosie sent out to you all in that email. And I'm gonna pull them up just in case some of you don't have them in front of you. So the very first thing I want you to see is, yeah, I'm gonna go in order because I'm a little bit of a nerd like that. Okay, so the tax record. While you are on, while you are in, one of the very first things I like to do is go into MyBoard and the realist and get their tax, the tax assessor's sheet, the document, so that I can make sure the person I'm meeting with, that they are actually the owner of the home. And then that may sound elementary, but I have seen people come across our ethics complaint table where they did not even do this first step. And I'm talking experienced agents who got in trouble for this kind of stuff. So make sure that you're looking to make sure the owner, the person I'm meeting with, is actually the owner of the home. This also helps me to know, like, is there a husband? And I'm just talking to the wife, because whoever is on this document needs to also go on your listing contract, okay? And so this tells me, so just a couple things that I'm just gonna point out, a couple things that I'm looking for here. Another reason why this is important is sometimes if this home has never been listed before, you will not find a previous listing on this house. Although this is helpful, it's not always very accurate. Like, it may sometimes say they only have one bathroom when they really have 3, but it does give you a litmus, just a baseline, and it will usually give you accurate square footage of the entire house. And this is gonna be important. You'll see why, because when I do my comparison analysis, I need to make sure I know what I'm comparing that house to. Here's some key things that I think are pretty cool on here is, you will also need this. I always print this out just so you know, because when I go in, when I get the listing and I go in the matrix and the MyBoard to actually put their listing in, or even to send them a listing contract, I need to have the legal description. There it is. Like, that just helps so much. Their taxes, you're going to see where later on, one of the last documents I give them is their net sheet. What is their profit going to be if they list with me? Well, I get that information from here on what their taxes are, because I will need to know what they pay for taxes every year. That will also kind of let you know a little bit of if they're very behind on those taxes. So it gives you quite a bit of information there. Another thing that I think is so helpful besides the square footage, if there's a basement and all that, is this right here, the real AVM amount. That has not always been there. That has evolved. And I will tell you, it has been very much on point for me for majority of my listings. I don't utilize it to find value. I use it to check against what I'm thinking the value is. And it's been pretty accurate. It's right here that where it says estimated value, the real AVM, it gives you a range and it gives you the amount. And I think it's just a fun litmus to have there. So there are some cool things on there that you guys can kind of work around, figure out, but it is called Realist, and it is the tax documents that we can get on MyBoard, on the matrix. So I do that for my sake. I print that out, and I print, if they've ever been listed before, I print out their, the agent full with history. I print that document out. It looks kind of like this for newer agents. This is their listing sheet from when, this will be their listing sheet from when they listed. So those are the things I have for me, and then I go to work with finding out, going into getting their value. So here's some things, this is what I do. You'll hear me, this is my philosophy a lot in our business, is starting wide and then zoning in. So this is what I do. I first of all look at their entire area or neighborhood. So this particular home, I went in and I created a search based on anything that's active, has been sold in the last 12 months, or that is currently pending. That's what I use to set it up. If it is a neighborhood, like, kind of like an HOA kind of neighborhood, many times I will just go in and put that neighborhood. If it's not, I want to do a search based on, I'll put the address of the home and say that I want to do a quarter mile. Anything around there's a quarter mile. If I'm barely getting anything that pops up, I'll go out to a half mile. Appraisers will go up to about maybe a mile if they need to. But I'll tell you this, if there is a crap ton of stuff right there within a quarter mile, a half mile of your home, and it's not original, or it's not unique, then you need to be thinking like an appraiser. And so that's how I think. And so that's what I'm kind of showing you, okay? So I will go in. So if you're working in the downtown area a lot, which is where our hot pocket is at Platte, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to use neighborhoods as much as you would use anything within a half mile. I do not get more specific than that. I'm not looking for 3 bedrooms. I'm not labeling down the basements and all that at this point. I really want to get a wider perspective of what's going on. And here's the reason why. When you go to sit down and meet with them, you'll have them tell you all the time, yeah, there was a house down the street and it sold, blah, 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 blah. And there was another house. Well, 9 times out of 10, they don't have to worry, because that house that they're talking about, it's going to be on my agent's single line. Okay? I don't like to get caught off guard. You can't always be prepared for everything, but I do like to be prepared generally. And a lot of times they'll end up saying, oh, that's that one house. Well, that house is not going to be, we're not going to talk more about that house probably because it's not truly a comparable, and they'll understand why. So this is a wide look at, for example, this home is in Crooked Creek Villages. So when so this is this document and what that is for. And then I'm going, because when I actually take you through what I say to the clients, I'm gonna just act like I'm talking to a client, and it's kind of gonna go fast. So I'm trying to give you a little backstory on these documents. So that's the first thing that's in there. The second thing that's gonna be in there is I'm going to now zone into, out of all of those homes on that agent single line, which ones were most like my subject, that were most like this home that I'm going to list. So for here, I have 4 that were most like that. I have a few. And so I literally print out the consumer. Make sure I did the agent single line. I did the agent full on this one because this is what I wanted to keep for myself. But when I'm giving it to the client, I do the consumer full. If you have a question on the difference between those, make sure you write that down. But let me just show you really quick. The only thing different is it's not going to have these other realtors' information down here. I don't want my clients seeing that. I don't want them seeing what the other agents were. I don't want to be the one to give them access to some other agents that sold in their area, in their neighborhood. They want to get that on their own. That's on them. But I don't want to do that, and I would recommend you not do that. So same information is there. It's just going to not have the agent's information when you do the consumer full, okay? The other document, the next document that would be in there is, oh, I did print that out. Well, look at here. This is the home that I actually, remember I said that I would have their listing from the listing sheet from when they bought the home. Well, I didn't mind adding this because I'm the one who sold them that house, and then I was the one who turned around and went back and now I helped them buy it. Now I'm the one that helped them sell it. And so this shows the reason I print out the listing sheet from, it doesn't matter if they're the ones who bought it or not. I pull out the listing sheet on that particular home the last time it was sold, because you will be amazed. A lot of people don't know exactly what the square footage is in their home or what the lot size is. And I want them to be able to compare what their home is compared to the homes that I've picked as their comparables. And I promise I'm going to walk you through all that. The other document that you received that would come after the agent school training one are the pictures, the 60 photos, and you just hope to God that people aren't really printing off 45 to 60 photos. Please don't be that agent. Just because they say you can go up to 60 or 45 photos doesn't mean you need that many. So that's a whole different training, another day. But this is the inside, and you'll learn why I do this in a little bit, but these are the interior photos of those same homes that are comparable, that I'm calling comparable. And then we have the quick CMA. Then we're looking at the quick CMA, which all this is on my board, on Matrix. This is those same 4 houses, now looking at them side by side with the quick CMA giving averages on the numbers. And then last but not least, this is breaking down how much money they're going to pocket should we sell at these 3 different price ranges. And then I'm going to walk you through and explain. All of this stuff, guys, is in Matrix, in my board. I know there's other places we can go to get things. I pay my board a pretty good fee, and I want to utilize every tool that they'll give me because that's what I'm paying for. And so now I'm going to take you through what I would say, and this is my home selling guide, so I'm going to act like you guys are my sellers. And so I'm going to walk you through just a few of these things. So I never go through this whole booklet, so you guys don't worry. I never do that. Just like with the buyer's guide yesterday, I give them some points, some quick places, and then they can read it later on. I'm going to do a personality style training for the brand, for the office, for the entire office. Probably, I think it's in May that Rosie has it scheduled for. And my intention with that is for you all to understand. When you understand the different personality styles and traits of different people, you understand what they need. There's nothing worse than walking away and not really knowing why you did not get the client. And it's what's even more worse is when they don't really understand why they did not choose you. And that happens a lot. Sometimes it's just, oh my God, I just felt like I should go with this person, or I felt like I should just go with you, right? And so what I do, I am a very high I personality, very bubbly, very charismatic, and all that. And the issue with that is my personality style can not be driven by data. Like we don't really like having a lot of data and information. That's not cool, because there are a lot of people who really they feel comfortable when they can walk away with something, when they can hold something, when they can read something. Now, my personality, if my person brought this to me, I would never read that again. I'm going to vibe off of what I'm feeling with them in that moment. But I don't want to just cater to my personality style. So do know that when things I teach you with my buyer guides and seller guides, they are designed to make all 4 personality styles feel comfortable and to meet them at their place, at their need, including even the fact that this is colorful. That is big for me. That's big for my personality style. I would just be like, ooh, she's got her stuff together. That's pretty. And I'm smart, and I'm a businesswoman, but it's the reality. I like things that are pretty, and I like things that look good, and I don't even really need to look all inside the rest of it. I will just be pretty impressed. And so here it is, and this is how it goes. Hi, Mrs. Wilson. I'm so happy that you would have me here. So we're going to do 2 things. There's 2 parts of what we're going to do today, and you tell me which one you want to do first. One part is we're going to look through your house, and I need to give you some feedback on your home. And I just really want to hear what plans you have for each room in your home. And I'm going to allow you to take some notes and give you some feedback on what I'm thinking. The other part is we're going to discuss the numbers and how your neighborhood is looking and what your experience would be like listing with me. Which one would you like to do first? Do you want to sit down or do you want to walk through the house? So, excuse me, let's say they wanted to sit down first. And so here we go. This is just going to be a table of contents for you to be able to look back through later on and just read some things that you need at the time when you need them Today, we're just going to really pretty much go through the overview of your selling process and what that's going to look like selling with me. And so you guys, I'm constantly saying when you're listing with me. And so they're not thinking this is just how it works, because it's not how it works with everybody. It's how it works when you're working with me. So this first step, we're doing that right now. And that step takes several times. And it's okay. It doesn't matter how long it takes. We're going to get through that, however long it takes. But that is where you're going to meet with me. We're going to talk about your needs and also get your home prep down to getting your listing documents so we can get you ready for the market. Once we get that done, I'm going to begin all marketing efforts. I'm going to be putting out realtor calls to other people that I know, other realtors, get you in the DLC and all that good stuff. And if it's necessary, I will get mailers and things like that out. After that, your showings, your schedule will begin. I always hire a professional showing company to handle all of your showings, so no one's going to be calling you directly other than one person, one company, and they will be communicating with you. We'll talk more about that when that time comes. You will also be getting weekly communication from me as long as you are on the market. You will get weekly communication from me as to how your house is coming along, how we're doing with showings, and the details that we're getting, the feedback we're getting. Now, over here, Ms. Wilson, we're going to talk about the buyers that are going to be coming through your home. Now, I personally will not have any buyers coming through your home that are not pre-approved. If they do not already have a pre-approval, they will not get a showing from me. But I cannot guarantee you what other realtors do. But I will tell you that I'm not going to ask you to clean your house, get up and get out. And there's for a buyer who is not even pre-approved, which is also the reason why I don't take buyers out that are not pre-approved as well. This is an important part because typically when I sell the home, I help them buy another one. And this kind of helps overcome that objection of them wanting to just kind of go around seeing houses, because then they get it. They understand, wow, that makes sense. I love that Crystal's honoring us on that. And you know, we want to be mindful to other people, like this is just how she works. Once you get some offers and your offer is received, we will review the terms, figure out what that looks like you for net profit. Ms. Wilson, I want to stress to you that I work for you, not the other way around. So I will never tell you what you need to do, but I will also always provide you with information to make you feel confident about making an informed decision, but not just because I told you to, but because you felt it was the best thing to do. Do you understand what counter offers and negotiation, what that kind of looks like? Okay, awesome. So counter offers, pretty much, it sounds like you already know what that means, but that's pretty much just they send you an offer and you don't have to accept all of it. If you only want some of it and you want to send back, then we go back. That's what I call ping pong. Some people love to play ping pong. It really gets them excited. And although we are in a seller's market and you do have the upper hand, I do want you to understand that a lot of the buyers are very restless right now. And so when you are going back and forth playing ping pong with them with counters, they can also go ahead and start working with a different seller or find something else that came on the market and they decide they don't want to pass the ball back to you. And if they do, they just have a right to do that. And so I just want you to know this is not the best season for ping pong, but when we get there, if you want to play it, we can play ping pong all day long. But I will remind you of whether or not I think this is a good ping pong decision that you're making at that time. Once you do make an offer, once you do accept an offer, excitement, there's a meeting of the minds. My office will collect the earnest money from that buyer. Usually that's within about 2 days. And I want you to understand that once we collect that earnest money, that my office will cash that check immediately and they will hold on to that money. The only way that the buyer will get that money credited back to them without buying your home, there's 3 different ways. And number one is if they find major items on their inspection report. And I want to give you a heads up, there's going to be at least 27 pages worth of things that come up when that buyer does that inspection. It's going to be a lot of things, and it's not your job to fix all of them, but you are responsible to make sure you address all of the major ones. If you don't, they have a right to walk away and get their earnest money back. The other way is going to be from their appraisal. They're going to get an appraisal done 9 times out of 10, unless it's a cash buyer, then that's something that they can decide. They get an appraisal and you guys agreed at $300,000, but it comes back in at $295,000. If you do not adjust that price, they have a right to walk away and get their earnest money back. And the last and final way is their underwriter. If their lender, for whatever reason, decides that they are not going to give them that loan, then they have a right to obviously get out of the contract and get their earnest money back if they don't have they get a denial from their lender. So, Ms. Wilson, I want you to know that when you work with me, when you do get in pre-approvals, I want you to know that that is just as important as the offer you received, because I will vet that pre-approval. We want to make sure that it is a reputable company. We want to make sure that that lender has actually looked at all of the documents, and it wasn't something that was just done online where they just the buyer just stated their income. So just know that when we get to that part, we'll talk about that again when that comes, but just know that I am like a bloodhound on those pre-approvals, because I want to make sure that you're not going back on the market because someone's financing fell through when we could have caught that in the beginning. So speaking of the inspection, that's going to be the next thing. The buyer's going to conduct an inspection, and I'm going to ask that you not be there for the inspection. That is the buyer's time to come in with their inspector. It's about 3 hours long, to have time to learn the inner workings of that home. The next thing is we'll negotiate inspections. And that is what I like to call a hurdle. When we get to that, when we cross that hurdle, bam, we're just getting closer to the finish line. And so it is a hurdle. It is some work, but we will be there and I'll work you through that. The next thing is it goes to the underwriter for processing, and they will get your appraisal done. That's usually within 10 to 12 days of after your offer is accepted. And again, I'm going to ask that you not be home. One of the things I do want you to know with your appraisal, I fight for your appraisal before there's ever a fight. I fight for your appraisal the moment I find out that it is scheduled. I send over all the information I feel necessary to that appraiser that would warrant why we have your home listed at the price that it is. And knock on wood, I have yet to run into an appraisal issue. The next thing we're going to do over here is once all of that happens, your buyer is probably going to want to conduct a walkthrough to make sure that you have completed those repairs, or even if you didn't need to do any repairs, they're going to make sure the house is still standing in the condition it was when they first saw it. We're going to schedule out your closing, and I would love to say we'll get your final figures a couple days in advance, but the way things are going right now, you'll be lucky to get them the day before, and sometimes you might get them the morning of, but I will push to get them to you as soon as possible. Once we get there, we're going to go to closing, and I want you to understand that closing possession is going to look different based on what your needs are and what the buyer agrees to. I work really hard to keep you so you can have possession of your home 2 to 3 days after closing if it's needed, or sometimes even doing a buyback up to 30 days out. We'll talk a little bit more about that depending on your specific situation. Just know that I'm going to bat to negotiate for you to make sure you can get the best deal for what's better for you and your family. Okay, so on this page, it talks about how showings will work. I've already explained that to you, Ms. Wilson, but you can go back and look at that later. This is a quick paper that I would recommend you pull out of this sheet and just keep it somewhere so that you can know how to prepare for a showing very quickly should you just get a last-minute request. Over here, we've already discussed this. It's good for you to go back if you have a question. We've already discussed all of these things, as well as the closing, we're talking about that. I want to dive into a little bit more about this, the 6 reasons a home will sell. And I want you to look at this. These are the 6 reasons. So your location of your home, the condition of your home, the terms that you come to agreement with, the realtor you choose, the market you're in, and the price. You cannot control, Ms. Wilson, the location of your home, obviously the market or your competition, but you do get to control the price, the condition, the terms, and the realtor. So those are the only 4 things we're going to talk about right now. That's what we're going to look at. And so, guys, this is where in comes those documents I printed out. I'm going to talk to her about the condition and all of these things. So, Ms. Wilson, this is a wide view of your neighborhood, how it's performed over the last 12 months. And so we're not going to look all into this, but my goal is to leave you with this information so that after I leave, you can look into this and you can be nosy, look in your neighbors, kind of look at the pictures on their walls and all that. And then you can feel a little more confident with how we're going to move forward with your price and everything. But for now, I just want to make sure you understand what these things mean. So when you're looking at this after I leave, you'll feel a little more informed. You guys, I do this on purpose because I give them a lot of information, but let's be very clear. My intention is not to stay all night at their home. Okay. What my wording is doing is setting them up to know we're not going to discuss all this stuff today. I want you to know I'm informed. I've equipped you. You have the information, but you're not going to dissect all this information in front of me right now. So I just kind of walked them through this. This tells you the status of the home, address, the price, the beds, the full bath. I just kind of walked them through some of these things. And the thing that they usually don't quite get is I'm like, that's a basement, obviously, total square footage, DOM, days on market. And then, I usually have highlighted the ones that I'm going to use as comps. I'll highlight them and I'll say, out of all these homes in the area, these are the 4 I found most comparable to your home. And so I want you guys to notice on this one, I picked this listing that I actually just listed on purpose because I had to go outside the neighborhood to grab some value, and I'll kind of go back and explain that a little bit. And so now we're only going to look at those 4 homes that I mentioned. And so the very first thing I want you to understand is how your home compares. I want to point out a few areas, and you guys, I usually have put check marks either right there in front of them, or if I've had the time, I actually highlight the key areas that I think are important so that their eyes just get drawn in. Because I don't know about you, but even after 5 years into the business, this is just a lot of information on these sheets. And sometimes I'm like, what the heck? So I'll just walk them through. Here's the address. Here's the status. This one actually is sold. This is what it listed for. This is what it sold for. Here's your square footage. This tells you if there's a basement, how many bedrooms, bathrooms. This is going to give you dimensions of all the good stuff in that house. And this is the ooh la la part. This is the part that tells you if it's got new granite, if it's got new HVAC, all those kind of great, wonderful things. And you guys, if there are things like new HVAC, new roof, especially being newer, I would highlight those little things so they could see. Because remember, I'm painting a picture for them of what their value looks like. So by the time we're done, we are on the same exact page and there's no questions, okay? And so, and then here I want to point out as well your acreage. This is how big your lot is. And then we're going to talk on the next sheet is this down here tells when the house closed and if there were any seller concessions paid out on the buyer's behalf. So now let's take a look at the comparables now that you've seen yours. I'm not going to walk through all these for you guys. I'm not going to kill you with that. So what I'll do is I go right through this. This is what it listed at. This is what it sold at. If I happen to notice that something listed for like a certain amount, but it's sold over, I like to point that out. And I like to tell them, now I want you to notice that in this market, if your home is worth more than what it was listed for, 99.9% of the time, someone's going to offer you more. So this is a market you don't have to worry about losing money on your home. But if anything, it can be quite the contrary. If you list too high, it is a good chance because buyers are so conditioned to believe that sellers will only take what they're asking for, that sometimes they will pass on your house and not ask an offer on it because they don't think it's worth that and they think it's going to be a waste of their time. Because remember, Mrs. Wilson, a buyer can only offer on one house at a time. And so if someone else is priced a little more appropriately and it's between your house and their house, it's a good chance they may go with that other house. So we want to kind of be careful with that and keep that in mind. So here at the bottom, you'll notice, Ms. Wilson, that the seller did not pay any closing costs on this for the buyer. And so that's good to notice because I use these averages to figure out about what a buyer is probably going to ask you for. That is why I have that highlighted for you. So we'll go through that one, okay? I'll let her see that. And then right behind that agent pool or the consumer pool is going to be the pictures for that listing. And I'll say, now I want you guys to look at the condition of this home. Just go ahead and scroll through. I want you to look at the pictures, just kind of look at the condition. And I just kind of fall back and let them look at that, okay? And then I'll go to the next house. Let them look at the pictures, look at the condition. I'm not saying a lot. I'm just explaining things and I'm letting them know, ask different questions. Sometimes you guys, and I'll be honest, I do less than I did years ago when I was newer. When I was newer on the pictures, I would actually write out notes. Here's some notes I would write out. If that home was superior or inferior to that client's house, like I would highlight some things that this house is inferior to yours for this. It's superior for this. That makes sense? And so I just don't do it. It's not that it's right or wrong. I don't need to do that anymore. I did it more for confidence level back then. So I don't, but it's a good note. It's not a bad thing to do. I think it's pretty cool. And so we've gone through agents, we've gone through the consumer pool and the picture, for each one. And then I will tell them, remember, the appraiser looks at the condition of the home and they look at the square footage piece of that. So you got to see the condition. Now let's look at the square footage and put those. These are the same 4 homes. And now we're just going to look at a side-by-side view of those homes, how they compare with each other and how those measure up. And so for today, I just want to make sure you know what you're looking at. You guys, the one thing that usually I have them write down is right here where it says square footage optional. I have them right on top of that basement so they know later on what that meant. People always think, oh yeah, she explained it, I'm going to remember it. No, they're not. Write it down. Remember, you're the leader. Tell them to write it down. I mean, if they don't write it down, you don't slap their hand, but you take control of the meeting. And so over here, I want you to know that these are the days on the market and this is the average. Now, I want you to come down here, Mrs. Wilson, what you're going to notice down here, these are the averages and the median averages for the sold price, list price, and all of that that good stuff. I'm going to be honest with you. Your home is superior to most of these homes. And so I don't feel comfortable with us listing at like a $265 price because I feel like the home that I had to go outside of your neighborhood to find, which by the way, guys, is Dapple Trace, this very top one, I had to go outside of their neighborhood. And here's the reason why. My subject was a 5-bedroom, 2.5 baths, and it's big, finished basement. It's quite superior to the rest of these homes. And so I gave a justification for doing that because I feel like an appraiser would have did that and it would be justified. The appraisal is next week. Stay tuned. So that house sold at $305 with multiple offers over $300,000. So we're going to see how that measures up with the appraisal. So they looked at that and I've told them, and I say, now for the fun part that you've been waiting for, let's talk about what the money is going to look like should you list with me and at these prices. Based on the numbers and the information that I've seen, these are the scenarios that I think will be a great place to start. And today, I just want to make sure you know what these mean. This is if we sold at $285, $275, or $295. Remember those 5 questions I asked them? One of them was how much was owed on the house. So I know that it was $200,000 was owed on the house. So I've plugged in, this is what your payoff is. And then Ms. Wilson, I don't know if you knew this, but did you know that we pay taxes in arrearage in the state of Indiana? Yeah, we do. So what that basically means is everything in 2020, all the time you lived in 2020 in your home, you haven't been billed for the taxes for that just yet. Excuse me. But you're going to have to pay for it when you go to closing. Excuse me. And so what I've done is I have prorated for 13 months. And you guys, I always do. Because that should be about the max amount long as you're current on your taxes. But if it's less, that is great. But I don't want you to get a bad surprise. So that is with 13 months worth of taxes once you pay that out. And then this is your closing costs. Even if you don't pay the buyer's closing costs, guess what? you have a closing cost, and that is for the title work. In the state of Indiana, the buyers get to choose the title. I will try to encourage them to use the title company that I prefer, but they do have a legal right to pick what title company they choose, and we don't know what that is. So I'm going to just go ahead and we'll put in a guesstimate here at $1,500. Okay, so that's movable, that's flexible. And then this is my fee. And just as a reminder for you, if we have not already discussed this, how this works is this fee that we have decided upon, this 6.5%, what will happen is at closing, of course, I only get paid when you close. At closing, this will get broke out into two different ways. Half will go on the buyer side, half will go on the seller side, because in the state of Indiana, you do pay for your buyers, okay? And so you pay for your buyer's agent. So, and then the brokerage will split out. My brokerage will take a part of that 50%, and then I'll get a percentage. And the same thing will happen on the buyer side. So out of that pot, that $18,000, it will get split out 4 different ways, okay? So that's how that works. And then right here, this is your gain. So if you end up selling at 285, it's 62,000, 52,000, or 71,000. Which one of those numbers sound most comfortable to you based upon the information that you have seen today? So we get into that, and they talk to me about that. That is when I present to them how much. I never give what my rate is until I've given them, and I do make sure that I make 3.5% on almost 97% of my listings, because I'm worth it. And I think that that's what I need to get paid. So I just slip that right in there to them, and I make sure I let them know that that is not all going to me before they even ask. And most people kind of appreciate that. Last thing I wanted to cover really quick for you was me. What does it mean to list with me? And so I walked them through my marketing plan, what that looks like, and you guys can read that later. I walked them through my communication plan, how I communicate with them. And can I just tell you guys, that is one of the biggest downfalls for realtors, experienced or new. It doesn't matter. Sellers do not like when they feel like they cannot communicate or they're not hearing from their realtors. So we know it is planned out. We know when we're going to talk. And then I just tell them to go back and read later about the staging, some top staging tips. And then this is where we do our walkthrough through their home. And just really quickly with this, how we end that with the walkthrough is I will tell them, Miss Wilson, tell me, when we go through each room, I want you to be honest with me. I want you to be honest with yourself. I don't want you to try to sell me pie in the sky or what you think I want to hear. I want you to first tell me, what were your thoughts? What were your plans to do in each room we go in, down to decluttering anything? And they usually say, well, I want to know what you think. And I tell them, believe me, I'm opinionated. You'll know what I think, but I want to hear what you're willing to do first. Because we can come up with a great plan, but at the end of the day, once I leave and your real life starts back again, the question is, are you really going to do all that stuff? So we need to be honest. And I want you guys to write this down. I always tell them, I am always going to recommend you do the least amount of work that you can that will give you the greatest impact. The least amount of work you can that will give you the greatest impact. And so we will walk through and they will tell me, and I always make them lead because I have a very dominant personality. And so I need to make sure that they speak their mind first. And you can say this, you may not want to just come out and say, well, you pick how you say this. I wouldn't want you offending someone Black if you're actually a white person. But so I walk them through and I tell them, here's some quick staging tips. I do tell them all personal effects need to come down. And I explained, Miss Wilson, when people come in your house, I am so happy that you go on so many trips with your family. That is amazing. But I need people to walk in here and create their own memories. I need them to walk in and picture themselves in your home and not get caught up in what you've done in your home and your life. So we need less of you and we need more a blank canvas so people feel like they can walk in here and own it. I want people to not know if you're white or Black when they walk in. They should not know that, because that can be a deterrent for no apparent, for no good reason. And so we need to take down a lot of the personal effects that come down. And every person, Ms. Wilson, every person has to declutter, because how you live today is usually about 50% of that is what you really want to have out, so that everything looks more spacious and more big. So those are tips I always say for every single person, no matter what color, blah, 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 whatever they are. So that is what we do. We walk through and they write down their little notes and all of that. And I'll like take a picture of it. I want them to write it in their handwriting so that they can remember what we talked about. And then at the end, the close of it, I let them know, you know what? I want to make sure this experience is great. I do want you to know that I am not easily offended. It is very hard to offend me. So if you ever notice anything that is just not enjoyable for you, please share it with me, whether it's through email, text, whatever's comfortable for you, because I really want to make your experience great. And that's what helps my business be great, is you experiencing me and enjoying that. The next thing is, if you are liking what you're experiencing, please share me. Share me with everybody, you know, friends, family, people on the elevator, anybody you can think of, please share me. And so that concludes that. I hope that was helpful. But typically listing appointments, probably about an hour, depending on their questions, maybe an hour and a half. My last thing that I wanted to share with you, make sure that you're not still there for dinner. Okay? And what I mean by that is you do not want to take up their whole evening. Even if you're feeling like, but they're feeling me, like this is good, we're vibing. Make sure that you get through the information part, and that the rest of it, you guys are just connecting, you guys are just hanging out. And because I am talkative, because I have such a friendly personality, that is something I have to be very careful of. And I will tell them, you know what? Can we put a pin in that? I promised you guys that I will not be in here all night. And I want to make sure we get through this stuff. And then can we talk about that later? So I am intentionally letting them know I do want to engage with you, but I want to make sure that I engage with you after. Because what you don't want to happen is the kids start acting up, stuff start happening, or they start noticing, oh my God, it's so late. Oh my God, can we talk about this later? Could we finish this up later? And then you didn't even get to give the information you needed. Remember, you are the leader. You're the one taking them somewhere. So lead them, and you lead the way, because you can lead it with confidence because you have the information that you need. Okay. And so any questions, comments? I see I have stuff in the chat. What are you guys saying? Oh, nice. Okay. Thank you, Silva. Anybody have a question or comment for me? I hope you guys can still hear me. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yep.
You can? Okay. Okay. How long should we anticipate to prepare for the presentation? Oh, good one. Right now, it probably takes me 30, 45 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, depending on the neighborhood. But in the beginning, I probably allowed myself an hour and a half, 2 hours when I was first starting to do it. Like, just because I wanted to make sure I got everything right and I didn't really know where I was going. Good question. How do you do the 3-cell scenario document? Jenny, did I answer that, or are you asking that now? You don't know, you just asked that. So you're talking about, how do we do that? You mean, Jenny, do you mean like, how do I generate it? Like,
yeah, like where is it to generate it?
Oh, cool. Yes, that is also in Matrix, in my board, whatever we call it, the BLC. It is under financial, I think is what it's called. It's under the financial tab, and then you go to, it's like net profit financial sheet. The key thing is net profit. It'll say net profit on there. Good question. Thank you for asking that, Jenny. Anybody else have a question for me?
Crystal, does it ever get awkward for you, like when you present that big commission number? Like, do you have ever people, like look at that and be like, hell no, I'm not paying you that, and like, how do you respond to that?
Cool. Thank you. That's a very good question. last night I just did a listing appointment and they did. They wanted to know, it was a big number, and they're just like, oh my God. And I said, yeah. And I don't go, I know, like, I'm like, yes. So I'll say, yes, because she didn't let me finish at the time. She was like, oh my God. So I said, yeah. So what happens with that? I started explaining how it's broken into 4. And I really don't usually have people pushing back on it. I mean, they're going to see it anyways. And don't think it's hiding. People can go and add up. Like if you said, I'm going to charge you 6%, 5%, 7%, and I would rather them do it while I'm there. I would rather us see that number while I'm there than them calculating it on their own after I leave. So I like to hit it head on. But I don't, if I could say anything, and I will say, yeah, I'm worth it. Literally. Yep. I'm worth it. I definitely, I'm worth it, or, we're going to get your household. I don't give a lot of energy to it, if that makes sense. I just don't. And I'm okay with an awkward pause of silence. Because sometimes they just need to digest that, and then it's like, okay. But usually they're really more focused on that big number that's even bigger below, that's showing what they're going to get. So hopefully that helps with that. And that comes with time. Jenny. I'm sorry, I just noticed Jenny. Oh, I love that. Anybody else question? I think you guys will be amazed at how many people just think that you're just getting all of that. Like you're just walking away with all that money. And I think it really does help when you break it down, that it's getting split 4 different ways. You don't get into what the splits are, but it gets split 4 different ways. It doesn't look so big then. So I think that's why I don't have the issue where people have the issue with that. When you are the listing agent and they are buying a new house, do you combine the presentations? Good questions, Jamie. Not really. If that's a lot of information to take in, what I'll do is when I'm going through the listing side, I'll make little comments and say, when I'm going through the overview, and then when you're the buyer, you're going to be doing this too. Like I'll make some comparisons, but I don't go through that whole thing with them at that time. It's a lot. Good question. Anybody else before Rosie does her housekeeping things? Wait, I need to see everybody's face, because part of an I personality, I need to see you guys before she ends this. I'm like, are you guys looking dead? Do you guys look alive? Do you look overwhelmed? How are you guys feeling? I can't see anybody's cameras. If Rosie promises to cut this video out of the published, if Rosie promises to cut, I didn't get, what do you mean by if Rosie promises to cut this out of the published video?
My hair is a mess, guys.
Hi, Silva. Okay.
You looking
no,
great, Silva. Anybody else question or comment on it? For the newer people, I will say that I do not get a lot of pushback on price. If you notice, I didn't tell them what to sell their house at. If someone feels the need to go higher than what I was looking at, I'm like, okay, well, give me your thoughts on that. But really, when you give them the information before we start talking about what you think your price is, and I have clearly come prepared with information, I just don't get a lot of pushback on that. And even if they're wanting to go higher, which every now and then that happens, they do understand clearly we come up with a communication plan on what we're going to do if it does not sell after a week or so, whatever, all that. So thank you, Silva. I'm glad that your hand is ready.
So, but honestly, this is a lot of information for an hour-long training. I really do hope that it was helpful. And what I hope you walk away with is you have to do what makes you feel confident, because your confidence sells. You have to do. This is what made me confident as a new agent, wanting to be a listing agent and making that goal. Wanting to not have to charge less than 3.5% on my site, wanting to be able to justify my pricing. Like, this was what worked for Crystal. You have to do what makes you feel confident so that your confidence shines through. And so I hope that makes sense, and I hope that it is helpful, but feel free to reach out to me, of course, you guys. We can keep the conversation going if you have questions.
So good, Crystal. Thank you. Guys,
You're
agent training
welcome.
is officially over. Good work. Only thing that I would love for you guys to keep on your calendar is next week we have a monthly agent meeting. Mark is talking about The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. It's a really great book. If you can read it before the session, that would be great. That one is happening in person and virtually. So if you're interested in coming in person, Michelle, I believe, has the Eventbrite link for that, or has posted it on the Facebook group. And then if not, I'm not even sure if it's already full, then you can listen in on Zoom. So bye, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.